Hi everyone, we're about to kick off the webinar. We're just waiting for a few additional attendees to jump on, so please indulge our patience. Once again, please bear with us. We're just allowing other attendees to join onto the webinar. We'll be starting the webinar shortly. Hi everyone, my name's Howard Murphy, Business Development Manager here at DB Computers. Today, our 45-minute session will be covered by Chelsea Adrian from Yooz, where she'll be demonstrating Yooz, which is an intelligent end-to-end solution using AP automation technology that helps improve purchase-to-payment and invoice management. At DB, as you know, we like to provide process solutions using Sage to its fullest extent. For the most part, Hello.
Hi, sorry, I was cut from the
Yeah,
call.
sorry,
Yeah,
Chelsea. For some
no
reason,
problem.
I was cut directly off myself, so
Okay,
my apologies. I'm not sure how much of the intro came in there. It actually just cut me off for some reason.
let's start over.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I'll start over again. Sorry, my
perfect.
apologies, guys. If you
No,
missed
no
it,
problem.
if you missed it already, sorry. My name's Howard Murphy, Business Development Manager at DB Computers. So today, our 45-minute session will be covered by Chelsea Adrian from Yooz, where she will be demonstrating Yooz, an intelligent end-to-end solution using AP automation technology that improves purchase to payment and invoice management. At DB, we like to provide process solutions using Sage to its fullest extent. For the most part, what Sage provides suits. However, where clients are looking for more automated processes, there are already well-established products developed by existing Sage partners. Yooz are one such company who've been providing these solutions over the last 10 plus years. Now, before I hand you over to Chelsea, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to pop them in the chat section and we'll answer them at the end of the session. We've muted all participants except those who are speaking. So without further ado, I'll just hand you over to Chelsea here. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to turn my camera on very quickly to introduce myself, say hello to everyone on today's session. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to kind of go over the entire process that can be achieved by this connection that we have between Sage 50, Sage 200, and Yooz. So let's get right into today's agenda without further ado. All right, so in today's agenda, we can see we have a couple things we're going to be covering. First, we're going to give you a brief introduction to DB Computer Solutions and Yooz, just to kind of give you a little bit of context for today's presentation. And then we're going to focus on the top AP pain points for Sage users. We're also going to discuss the reasons why Yooz and DB Computer Solutions is going to provide you and your team with the easiest way to automate your entire accounts payable process, followed by a live flash demonstration of Yooz, where I'm actually going to be logging into the tool to show you how it works. At the very end, we're going to open it up to a live Q&A session, so feel free, if you have any questions during the presentation, like Howard mentioned, please don't be shy, write down your questions in the conversation area, and we'll be getting to that at the end. So I'll pass it back to Howard very quickly for an introduction to DB Computer Solutions. Back to you, Howard, for just a quick introduction. I believe your microphone is maybe shut off, so if you want to just pop that microphone back on so we can hear you.
Sorry, apologies.
No
There's a
problem.
delay in the actual audio coming back to me, Chelsea, so
No
sorry about
problem.
that. So so looking over the slide, as you can see here, we actually are a Sage business partner providing solutions right across Sage's entire portfolio. Typically we cover both Sage software and also hardware installations as well. So we provide solutions that encompass everything effectively. So from a green site, we can actually install and support everything. We partner in with some of the main, partners such as Sage, HP, Dell, Microsoft, and so on, and have the engineers who can provide, can dig into the resources that we have to help provide those solutions. On top of that, we also talk to existing Sage customers, that are being supported directly from Sage. Typically, if they can't get enough from the actual package itself, we'll introduce pretty much, all kinds of other Sage accredited development partners with the actual systems that they have alongside some of our own developed applications to complement what you have with your current Sage product. But that's it in a nutshell.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. And I'll just kind of continue on with just a quick introduction to Yooz with a few slides. So Yooz, we were created over 13 years ago, back in 2010. And the purpose behind the creation of this tool was really to open up the door to any company, no matter the size and industry, to take advantage to these powerful technologies to automate the full P2P process. And so at that time, back in 2010, a lot of options available were heavily on-premise based solutions. Cloud solutions weren't yet kind of on the forefront. And so today, with our solution, the concept is based only on the volume of invoices that are processed, and that's it. With this kind of volume-based concept, our company's been going quite rapidly. So you can see on this map here, we're now available in well over 33 countries. You can see we're very present currently in the UK, also in Ireland. And so that's why we're very grateful to be here today with DB Computers, because innovation, technology, it's really at the heart of our company. We want to educate and just make aware everyone in the finance department, whether it be an accounting firm, whether it be a small to large size company, that these type of technologies are available. And so we've been growing about 50% over 50% each year. And with this next slide on the left, you can kind of just see the diversity in the different client groups that we're working with. So over 50% of our clients, I would say, have a multi-site organization, and they're using the tool to streamline their activity across many different sites, using different currencies in different countries, using different languages, and so forth. On the right side, we have 3 blocks. The top one is that today we're working with a lot of large accounting firms. 9 out of 10 have started using our tool, and we've gained valuable partnerships with these accounting firms. They're giving us a lot of valuable feedback as well. And with this feedback, we're trying to consistently improve the tool by adding in new features and functionalities. And we're also connected with over 250 different ERP systems. Sage is one of our top partners that we're working with. And today our focus is on exclusively Sage 50 and Sage 200 users. So now, after we've gone over just a quick introduction to DB Computer Solutions, we've talked a little bit about Yooz, you have some context for our presentation. Let's now go into the top AP pain points that we've seen across the board moving into this year. So as I mentioned, we're gaining a lot of feedback from different clients we're working with, different industries, sizes, also different accounting firms. And across the board, these are the top 6 AP pain points that we've seen with companies that are not currently adapted to a digital process, that aren't adapting to an AP automation solution. And so as you can see, they're very straightforward. I know a lot of companies today that have a manual AP process can relate to some of these pain points. And so the first one, as we all know, having a manual process, it can be very complex, and sometimes it can take a long time just to process a simple invoice, up to 35 days even. And sometimes this is just hard to take into account of the actual cost that's involved. We've seen that it can be anywhere between 9 to 20 pounds, and that's not even taking into consideration the additional archiving that's involved. With that, everything can be, just having that lack of visibility. You can be doubling up on payments. You can be making late payments, just common human error. And so this can all lead to everything in the end, without that traceability, without that digital security. Over 70% of companies today have said that they've at least once become a victim of fraud. And so in the end, the whole process, if it's not compliant, we all know that having this manual process, we're at risk. And as we all know in the finance industry today, all of these regulations, they're consistently changing, they're evolving over time. And so we just want to make sure that you're ensuring a more secure process. And so that's why we're going to go into these next pain points, because this is really important for today's presentation, because we're talking about specifically Sage 50 and Sage 200 users. So we've gone over a little bit just kind of globally about how your accounts payable process is at risk without automation. Let's just take a quick look into specifically Sage challenges. So having that lack of visibility on expenditures and processes, this is a common pain point that I've heard from different clients that I'm working with Sage. Having risky and time-consuming manual processes. As we all know today, time is money, and so just being able to eliminate these manual tasks, it's something that companies today are really trying to start brainstorming, thinking of different strategies. Having a long and complicated validation process is another pain point, with tracking down validations, not being able to have the proper delegations set up within automatic workflows. having a difficulty to match invoices with purchase orders. As we all know, sometimes our suppliers can maybe send in an invoice twice. Sometimes we get confused with the manual matching, and also finding solutions that easily integrate with your ERP, which is Sage 50 and Sage 200. Now that we've gone over these pain points, the whole point of today's presentation is that we're here to help you. We're reaching out to help you and your team get this project started. And we're here to show you how easy and affordable it is for you to adapt to an AP automation solution like Yooz very quickly. So this next slide is kind of just to show the main points that we're talking about with this combination that you'll have with DB Computer Solutions and Yooz. So we have this built-in combination of advanced technologies that are going to be working to your advantage in the system. We have an OCR that's built in combination with artificial intelligence, which is what we call the smart data extraction. With this smart data extraction, you're going to be able to go an extra mile because with Yooz, it's acting intelligently to process even the most complex documents. We have tons of experience as AP automation is our one and only focus here at Yooz, and we've processed over 100 million documents through the system. So because it's not template-based, you can rest assured that no matter where the information is on that document, Yooz is going to be powerful enough to automate that process. We have what we call an all-in-one solution, and it's seamlessly integrated with Sage 50 and Sage 200, which is going to allow you to really automate each side of the purchase to pay process, whether it be from raising your purchase orders, automating your workflows, having that automatic capture of information, or using our no-touch process, for example. You'll also have data that's flowing in between Sage and Yooz with the connector that I'll be showing you in just a moment. And you'll have a solution that's very easy to use and easy to set up. With the implementation at Yooz, you'll have a project manager that's going to set up the tool for you. So you won't have to worry about your team being left to try to set it up on your own. This project manager is going to be dedicated to your specific processes to make sure that everything's set up, tested, and running for your go live date. Of course, this combination that we have with DB Computer Solutions, they are a local Irish partner. They're able to really help you and just guide you throughout your AP automation journey. They have over 30 years of experience, like Howard was mentioning earlier, and they have hundreds of clients that are exclusively using your ERP tool, which is Sage 50 and 200. Not to mention, just to kind of seal the deal, we are both on both sides Sage business partners. We're very humble and very proud to have this title. And because we're working very closely with Sage, we get a lot of feedback quite often from our partners at Sage. And this is allowing us to really have this close business relationship. Now, after all of this feedback, we've kind of gone over different solutions, different problems and pain points. Now we're going to talk exactly how the system is going to work. I'm sure you might be thinking in your head, okay, this sounds great. I'm interested. Now, how exactly is Yooz going to work to solve all of these manual problems that I'm facing in my AP department? So let's just quickly take a look at the Yooz process. This is a diagram that's been built to kind of show you the breakdown of the different modules that are built into the Yooz platform. So as you can see on the left side, we have a built-in purchasing module flowing all the way to the right side of the screen where we have the export of that information back into Sage 50 and Sage 200. So as you can see, you can automate the full P2P process. You have a powerful no-touch system that's going to help you to eliminate up to 80% of your document flows that are coming in. Those are the repetitive documents that you have to spend time for that data entry that's going into Sage. With Yooz, all of that information is automatically going to be extracted. And if you don't have specific rules or a workflow built in for those types of documents, they're going to be passing in with no human intervention needed whatsoever. At the bottom, you can see that we have these different modules built into the workflows. So starting with the capturing of your documents, in just a moment, I'm going to be showing you how that works in the Yooz system. And we can do this in a number of different ways to make sure that this extraction is taking place automatically. You also have different steps built into the workflow, including the reviewing of your documents, the approval steps, and you can build in as many customized steps and built off of different criteria within these workflows. We can also set up that payment export, of course, in the format required by your bank, whether it be a BACS file, a SEPA file. And then we have the payment feedback once it's been paid, coming back and flowing into that export back into your ERP, Sage 50 and Sage 200. Now, of course, there's lots of other features that are built into Yooz, which I'll be showing you in just a moment in the demonstration. But I thought, why not just take a look right now very quickly at this diagram that we've created to really show you visually the integration that you'll have between Yooz and Sage 50 and Sage 200. So at the bottom, you can see the automatic capture of your information coming in. That's going to be taking place via scanning physical paper documents if you have them. But we also have this very powerful email capture, which I would say is probably by far the most popular feature in the capture in Ireland and across the board in other countries as well. I'll be explaining that email capture in just a moment. Now, once those invoices are captured automatically by the system, you can see when they're flowing through Yooz that there's two different flows. There's one taking place for PO and also for non-PO based invoices. Now, for non-PO based invoices, the documents will go through the using process that we just saw up on the screen to extract all of the information automatically and then send those documents on into your customized dynamic workflows. Now, for PO-based invoices, they're going to be automatically sent into a separate workflow that's also going to be customized for you and your team. That's going to take advantage of our automatic two-way and three-way matching that's going to happen in the Yooz system. As you can see, the purchase orders from Sage are going to be synced into Yooz. You can see at the bottom, so all of this automation that's going to be taking place for you in Yooz to automate the capturing of your documents, the accounting receipt, the reconciliation, the recording of your orders and your invoices, the customized workflows, and much more. Now, when you look up on the top in the yellow part of the screen, we can take a look at it from your side. So there's going to be a pre-existing connector that we've established that's going to feed information from your ERP system, any version of Sage 50 or Sage 200, whether it be cloud, on-premise, so forth, to the Yooz agent that you can see right here represented with this little gear that you can see on the screen. And so just below, you can see all the information that's going to be flowing between Yooz and your ERP, including all of that master data elements like nominal codes, your different departments, cost centers, vendors, and much more. You're going to have your purchase orders, of course, your invoices and credit notes, and also that payment feedback that I was mentioning that's going to be coming back into Yooz. So once the information is exported to Sage, you'll have the possibility to pay your supplier invoices from Sage and then add a last customized flow that's going to be coming back into Yooz to very clearly indicate which invoices have been paid. And so in Yooz, you and your team can actually build these customizable reports. For example, you can title them like invoices waiting to be paid, and you won't need to be going back and forth to check into Sage. So you're really going to have this exclusive and seamless connection through this agent that's going to give you and your team that powerful connector between Yooz and Sage. There's going to be a daily flow of information that's coming in and out. And so, for example, if you create a vendor in Sage or vice versa in Yooz, you won't need to worry about creating it on the other side because the next day, all of that information is going to be automatically synchronized for you. Now that we've gone over a lot of different topics, we've talked about different AP pain points, we've talked about the solutions through AP automation that can help you and your team, and we've also talked a little bit more about how the Yooz process is going to be working with that connection with Sage. So let's now jump right into our live demonstration of Yooz. Again, please feel free if you have any questions during the presentation or if you'd like to see something dive deeper into a certain subject, for example, feel free to take note of that in the questions section. All right, so let's now jump right onto the live demo. I'm just going to share my screen here where I'm going to be logging into Yooz. So when you log into Yooz, the first thing that you should know is that you can have an unlimited amount of users and an unlimited amount of entities that are built within the Yooz system. You're always going to have a padlock that you see right here at the top of the screen, knowing that you'll have a secure connection when you're logging in. And when I tap right here on the top right corner, this is where I'll have my username, I'll have access to a lot of different portals in Yooz. I'll have my help center. I'll also have a link to my Yooz University sessions where we're going over all of the new functionalities in Yooz. And you'll also have your profile section where you can really customize and set up different delegations within the system. So you can set it up so that specific users will have access into different areas in Yooz, and you can block users from having access to other information. So a perfect example might be you have different sites, maybe you have 3 entities. You only want users from that specific entity to have access to those documents, for example. You can also set it up so that globally everyone within the whole company is going to have the same theme, the same setup, or you can make it so that each user individually, they can choose the theme that they have, they can customize the columns of information and so forth. Now let's go on a quick tour. At the top left-hand side, you can see that there are 4 tabs. So we're going to start with the capturing of those documents. As we explained, this is how we're going to automatically import your different invoices into the system. So right here on the bottom, you can see we have 4 different boxes. So the first is the Yooz box configuration. If you have any physical paper documents, Yooz is there to help you connect through a scanning machine. And we have what we call the Smart Split suggestion. So you won't have to worry about scanning your documents one by one. You can scan them very efficiently in a batch. And the artificial intelligence, when it's coming into play, it's going to be intelligent enough to be able to split each individual invoice. Now, keep in mind in Yooz, it's also important to know that documents are not counted per page, that they're actually counted per invoice. So even if an invoice or a document has multiple pages, in Yooz, it's coming in as a single document. You also have, like I mentioned earlier, the email capture functionality. Now, today, a lot of companies are trying to fully digitalize their process. They're trying to eliminate paper. And this is important because with this email capture, you can create a 100% paperless process. You can use a pre-existing email that you're already using. You can also create a new email address, or you can use multiple different email addresses. It's completely up to your team how you'd like to set that up. And your project manager is going to set up different filters based off of your needs as far as which information you'd like to be automatically brought into the system. So based off of that coding, only the relevant documents will automatically be brought into Yooz. So that means in all of these different real life scenarios, Yooz is going to be acting intelligently to make sure that your documents are brought in automatically. So any format document, this means even if your supplier sends one email with multiple different invoices attached, Yooz is going to be able to pick that information up individually. Now, another way that you can upload an invoice is by simply dragging and dropping or clicking to select a file right here. You can import that document, select which unit you're importing it to. You can also upload other types of corporate documents into Yooz, and you can store them and have a legal archiving for that. What you can also do is, if needed, you can add additional data to your documents that you're bringing into Yooz. And as simple as that, when you import the document, it's going to be popping up for you with an alert in your imported files section. So the whole purpose is that we want Yooz to be very easy to use, very straightforward, so you can have a visual of every document that's been brought into the system. You can see who has imported the document. You can see for which account, for example. And when it pops up that the document is in the using process, this means that those built-in combination of technologies, they are processing your document automatically for you. It sounds silly to say, but it's as if there's a human brain that's acting intelligently to process and extract all of the information, and it's able to understand the content of that invoice. So it's going to be able to send it on into the next steps of these dynamic workflows. And as you can see, when I refresh in just a few moments, you can see that that document is already going to be moving on to the next step. This process is going to take a matter of seconds, allowing you and your team to act very quickly, because as soon as that process is done, all of those documents will be popping right up here for you in the My Tasks dashboard. Now, this is the main area in Yooz where you're going to be processing your documents. And you can see I've created some customized shortcuts that we have up at the top. And what you can do is you can track your late documents and set up rules. You can also do that for your blocked documents. And when you see that your documents are popping up as complete, this is my favorite section because this means that they've passed through the Yooz system. We have a built-in fraud protection, we have a duplicate protection, and this means that all of the information is matching that referential data that we have in your master data elements. So that's including your VAT codes, your supplier information, all of your item lists, and so forth. Now on the left, you'll have a list of all of your different entities that you're working from, and you'll see that those documents are going to be automatically exported to each one of your entities automatically. You can also filter on the left side of the screen to very specifically see bits of information that you'd like to look up. Like for example, maybe today I'm working on this office, or if you want, you can say maybe, okay, last week I would like to see all of the documents from this vendor. Now I'm logging in the morning. I can see very clearly here I have 8 total documents for this entity or this office. And at the top, 6 out of 8 have been automatically completed by Yooz. So it's very simple. What I can do is I can just click right here on this completed section. I know that if they're popping up as complete, that I have no work to do and that Yooz has completed the task for me. So the first way that I can process my documents is by simply clicking here on them in a batch at once and processing them automatically into the next steps. If you need to, you do have a second option if you wanted to preview your documents. So you can see a little preview button that's popping up for you in the corner. When you click right here on this panel, it's efficient because on the left side, you'll see a full list of all of the documents that you're currently working on. And on the right side, you'll see the actual image of the document itself. So you can actually zoom in if you want on that document. It's very visual, very straightforward. You can see all of the information that's been extracted by Yooz. And at the bottom, you can also see each element that Yooz has extracted for you in the properties section and also in your invoice line section. So you can just very clearly imagine the time that's saved here in this scenario. If you need to, you can quickly kind of check back just to make sure to verify that everything's matching up. And once you do, you can just simply click on those documents and process them into the system. By clicking on Submit, that means that they're going to be moving on into the next step of the workflow. This is going to be happening instantaneously, and they'll be already going on into the next steps. And earlier, as we could see, we had 8 total documents. 6 of them have been processed, and we're now left with those 2 documents that were popping up as incomplete. So this first example is an example of the very first time I'm receiving a supplier invoice from this hotel group. Now, this is an example to show you how you can use the deep learning and the machine learning built into Yooz to save your team a lot of time and to work to your advantage. Now, anytime a document is popping up as incomplete in Yooz, at the top, you're going to see an alert that's very clearly going to inform you and your team members of why the document is popping up incomplete. Now, you can see automatically these are the boxes that have been extracted. You can click on them. Yooz is going to highlight where on the document that information's been picked up. And at the bottom, you can see some other elements that have been automatically extracted, even though this is the first time I'm receiving a document. Now, the account field has been set up by my team as a mandatory field. You can see that with an asterisk. And so Yooz is acting intelligently. This is the first time I'm receiving a document from the supplier. So it's never just going to be randomly allocating different dimensions or coding. So this first time, all I'll have to do is from a drop-down list that's going to be synced between Sage 50 or Sage 200. All I'll have to do is click on the specific account. I'll be able to have these customized dimensions that'll be set up. In my example, I have department, I have cost code, but keep in mind, you and your team will have customized dimensions set up here. Excuse me. All I'll have to do is just select the correct department for this hotel group. I'll select my cost code. Maybe in this case, it's a 3 for hotel. And now once that's done, Yooz is going to ask me, would you like Yooz to remember or learn this data for the next documents? So anytime in the future that I receive an invoice from this particular supplier, Yooz is going to remember that coding, and it's going to be passed on into the no-touch process, and there'll be no human intervention needed whatsoever. The document will be fully complete, popping up for you in your ERP system. You also have the ability to click no if you'd like, and that means that maybe for a particular supplier, you'd like to change the coding each time. It's completely up to you. Now, this next example is to show you how you can very quickly and easily change and make modifications on your different documents within Yooz. Again, there's an alert popping up for me saying why the document isn't complete. And this is the first time I'm receiving a document from the supplier. Yooz is going to automatically make a split suggestion for me. So as you can see, there are 4 lines in this particular invoice. At the bottom, you can see that Yooz has automatically suggested that there are 4 lines in this invoice, but it's never just going to be assuming that this is how you'd like to split the document. So a normal situation to modify a document could take maybe 20 to 30 minutes. In Yooz, what you can do is you can very quickly just modify this information by clicking directly on the document itself. This is what we call our click and recognition technology. And what you can do is you can see that as I'm clicking, the lines are being pre-populated for me with different information. I have my different departments associated to each line. I also have a balance that's being calculated for me automatically at the bottom. If I need to, on the left side, this is where you can see I can add a line, I can make a duplicate of a line, I can also delete a line. And when I do, you can see Yooz is calculating my balance. I can also pick up a whole column of information at once. I can pick up multiple lines if I need to, and Yooz is going to calculate those 2 amounts for me. Now, what I'm doing with numbers, we also don't want you to have to be typing out text. So if you needed to change descriptions, you can just be simply clicking on those words. You could even pick up a whole paragraph at once, a whole sentence, and it's going to save you and your team a lot of time. Now, once all of that modification has been taken care of, we also have a number of actions that can take place at the top. As you can see, we have a button right here where when you click here, you can block the document. You can clearly communicate with your team to say why it's being blocked. You can also leave a description. You can link another document within Yooz, or you can add attachments. Now, something that's really interesting about this is that we tried to take into consideration real life scenarios. Sometimes you need to add attachments to invoices, whether it be a quote, maybe a video, an image. So let's say in this case, we received some damaged goods. What I can do is I can either select a file, or I can drag and drop an image or a different document here. And when I import it, Yooz is going to be saving them in dynamic folders or tabs at the top. And this is not going to count as an extra document coming into Yooz. Now, I can also leave a comment for my team, and I can say that I have damaged goods, for example. And when I leave the comment, Yooz is also going to be keeping track of how many comments have been left. And I have a full audit trail built in for every single document in Yooz. So this is really just to show you the power that there's an audit trail. You won't have to worry about making any changes or modifications that won't be taken into consideration because Yooz is automatically doing that for you in the background. You'll also have the ability to print directly, download, or send out an email directly from Yooz. So as we mentioned earlier, this is an all-in-one solution. This is really allowing you to go that extra step. You won't have to be logging in and out of different tools. You can stay here and have a pre-populated message popping up. You can even add on those attachments that you added earlier. Now, once everything's taken place, again, we're going to submit the document for approval, and Yooz is going to ask me if you want Yooz to learn this data for the next documents. So you can see how this is machine learning is really going to help you and your team to remember all of your specific splits, your specific needs. Now, when I click on the in progress section, all of those 8 documents that we just processed, they're now popping up for me in this section. I can see that they're in the approval task, and the person who's responsible is Miss Approver. So very quickly, if I just log in to show you that process, I'm going to log in as that user, Miss Approver, just to give you an idea that in real time, keep in mind that that person is going to be receiving an alert via email with a clickable link that'll take them right into their dashboard to those documents at hand. That person can, of course, the 3 ways that we discussed earlier, you can process those documents in a batch, you can preview them, or you can click on them one by one. And now as the approver, you'll have different actions that can take place. You'll have an approval area, you'll have a way that you can send the document back to the previous user. And when you approve that document, Yooz is going to keep track at every step to tell you, okay, the next step is for the paying agent to approve that payment. So when I click on confirm, rest assured that that document is now on its way to the next step. Just so I can very quickly visually show you those different steps in Yooz, I'm going to click right here on the settings section. And this is where all of that data is going to be set up into Yooz. You're going to have your different roles. You're going to have your master data elements. You'll have, of course, your different budgets management area. You'll have your different dimensions. And right here is where you'll have your processes and workflows. And when I click right here, you can see all of the different workflows set up. And this is really dynamic because you and your team can base it off of a number of different criteria. Now, on that diagram earlier where we were showing that flow of information from Sage 50 and Sage 200 into Yooz, I used the example of the different flows for a PO-based and a non-PO-based invoice. You can see some examples here. Now, when I click on PO invoice, you can see a very clear explanation of how those documents are automatically moving on into those next steps. There's 4 different phases within this workflow, and you can see there's the reviewing of the PO matching, you have the approval, you have the approval payment, and the confirmation of that payment. So these can be set up off of a number of different criteria. And if you could just click right there on that plus, this is where you'll be able to build off of different criteria within the system. And as you can see, the list goes on and on. We've really tried to think of all these different real life scenarios that you might have taking place. And you can set up delegations to be sent out to an individual user. You can also send off to a group that you've created or to a specific role within your organization. Now that you can see those very clear paths of the workflows going on into the different steps, let's now go into the statistics section where this is where Yooz is going to be automatically keeping track of your KPI indicators. In these KPI indicators, you'll clearly be able to see the types of documents that you're processing and their volumes. You can see over time the peak periods that you have throughout the year. So you can very clearly see when you're processing supplier invoices at a more excelled rate. An example, February, you can say, okay, this is maybe a good time for our team to go out on vacation, for example. You can set up customized KPIs as well. If you wanted to track your approvers, track your different vendors and customers, this is all set up so that you and your team can consistently use this information to improve your processes over time. So of course, you can be downloading these and you can send them out as Excel spreadsheets. You can send them out in your team meetings, for example. And another feature that's built into Yooz that you can use to your advantage as well is our built-in search functionality. So again, before ending the demo, I just wanted to show you how you can create customized reports that are really going to help you and your team. Like I mentioned earlier, all of your invoices waiting to be approved, for example, when you click here, everything's going to be popping up for you, and you'll have a full list of all of those documents falling into that specific category. What you can do is you can actually share these customized reports by clicking on the star, and you can create a name. You can also share them, you can see, with individual people or different groups. This one is shared with 19 other collaborators in my group. And when you share them, they're going to be sent on into your main search dashboard here where you can track, for example, all of your open POs. And this is going to save you every time you need to look up this information, you'll have it readily available in Yooz. Now, we've gone over quite a bit in Yooz today, but of course, if you are curious to see further, what we would love to do is to set you up with one of our experts. So I'm going to pass it over now to Howard. Thanks again, Howard, for having me for this demo, just to talk a little bit about how that's going to work, the demo, and then we'll go into the Q&A.
So what we'd like to do is that, if people want to learn a little more on how it'll work with Sage, how it'll benefit them, we'd ask that they get in touch with us. We'll be sending our email addresses and contact details, and we can line up a one-to-one session. We can, of course, like this session's being recorded today, and the one-to-one session we'll record also, and we'll pass back so that they can, answer or look over some of the bits and pieces they may have missed, or maybe it'll remind them of questions they should have asked as well. So, I'd advise anybody who's really interested in this to sort of reach out, to sort of have a very quick brief session. We can give you a more detailed demonstration, no problem. So just thanks very much for going through that, Chelsea. That was very comprehensive, and it sort of really highlighted, how flexible the actual Yooz system is, and how best it will actually suit the likes of our Sage customers. What I'd like to do is just a couple of questions I'd like to run through with you as well, just on what you've shown me so far there.
No problem.
you know, with the likes of putting in Yooz, for instance, is there sort of a minimum level of invoices that would be of greater benefit to have, before considering Yooz, or, is there anything you should look out for?
That's a really good question. I just wanted to turn on my camera for the questions and answers just to say hello to everyone. So, minimum amount of documents per month. This is a very good question. We usually start off our plans at 100 documents per month, but this is flexible because we are volume based. We're taking into consideration the total volume for the entire year. So, for example, if you subscribe with a volume of 100 per month, we obviously know that some months maybe you're only processing 50 documents, maybe other months you're processing a little bit higher volume than 100 documents. So the way the subscription works is it's a yearly subscription based off of your monthly volume. And as this is adapting, Yooz is going to be adapting with you, because that's the only aspect that the subscription is based off of. It's the volume of documents that you treat. You can have unlimited users. There's no licenses. And this is actually great because within your organization, maybe you want to allow access to more users into Yooz for that reviewing of documents, so for specific processes that maybe you wouldn't have had accessing a different tool, because this is opening that up to unlimited different amount of people accessing Yooz.
Okay, very good. And tell me this, as people take on the actual system itself, and what's the subscription implementation like with Yooz?
That's a really good question as well, because it's different for each type of solution. With Yooz, we don't want our clients to be felt like they're left in the dark with a blank platform that they're kind of responsible to set up on their own. The whole goal is for our experts to set up the Yooz system for you and your team, because that's kind of the basis of Yooz, is that we're adapting to you and not the other way around. The whole idea is that the clients will only be logging into Yooz when they have a task at hand. They won't have to worry about, when do I need to log into Yooz? So that whole implementation phase, it's very clear. In the subscription, it's going to be broken down for each one of our different companies that we're working with, because each project is different. Some can be very complex. Obviously, if you have maybe 150 different sites, as opposed to another project that maybe you're only working with maybe one entity, very straightforward, low volume. So we like to say that it's very quick. It can take between 2 weeks to 2 to 3 months, I would say, depending on the complexity of the project. It's very quick because as soon as you subscribe with Yooz, you'll have an individual project manager that's directly assigned to your project, and that person's going to be dedicated from A to Z to do all the work, to test it. You'll have a kickoff meeting. You'll have different trainings that are involved for you and your team. You'll have a commercial person on the side of the expert side, the commercial side, and so everyone's there to help you throughout the whole process.
Very good, excellent. And look, I know you tipped at us, through the course of the actual demonstration itself, but what are pretty much the biggest benefits the clients have after putting the system in, implementing Yooz?
I think like there's two main points that I hear all the time. The first is quite obvious. It's just gaining time, because across the board it's gaining up to 2 out of 5 days. I've heard we say 80%, but if you put that into consideration, thinking that 2 full days of work have been saved, and then imagine what that time savings is going to then generate for the company: productivity, adding value. And the second thing is just making the employees who work within the AP department feel like they're positively contributing to the company. That's the number one thing. They feel more like they're helping the team rather than just doing those kind of repetitive menial tasks throughout the day. And with Yooz and automation, they're focusing on more strategic aspects of the company. They're helping their team. You're able to focus more on what matters rather than tasks that can just be handled through automation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can see that from the actual demonstration, if I'm being honest. Now, obviously, look, we've a number of Sage users who'd be very interested in sort of this type of process. But can you give a good example of that, of somebody you've helped using Sage?
Absolutely. So I had a client that had two different entities. They were very separated. They're both using two different versions of Sage, for example, and they were having a hard time finding a solution that could help them kind of streamline this, even with a multi-entity situation with just only two entities, for example. It sounds easy, but at times it can be difficult. They adopted Yooz. We work with all different versions of Sage, but they had those Sage 50, Sage 200, and
Yeah,
being able to streamline the two entities were then able to work together. A
yeah,
lot of conflicts were then resolved. I've seen just since from the first day to the last days of implementing the project, I could see that both sides were kind of coming together. They're starting to see the benefits right away, even during the implementation process, because you'll be kind of testing the system out before
yes,
going live. So you'll already start to see those benefits. They'll already start to see, that improved relationship with the suppliers, because on the supplier side, they'll be receiving their documents and their payments more quickly, and
yeah.
everything will be more organized. So
Oh, very good. Okay, that's interesting. And one of the things that we'd sort of discussed before. Do you have any tips for improving the sort of the approval turnaround time for
absolutely.
customers?
So sometimes when I'm talking with different clients, they have this really complex approval process. And when our project team kind of dives deeper in and takes a look, they realize that it doesn't actually need to be as complex as sometimes we think it needs to be. So with Yooz, the way that we've built in these workflows, you can actually just make them more concise. And my tip would be just try to not cut corners, but try to eliminate unneeded approvals. Like if you can group actions together by creating groups in Yooz, for example, and you could have, let's say, okay, as long as two people from this group approve, then it's okay with me. Like, not saying that you have to have a specific person, for example, by just allowing the different groups within your organization to take responsibility for the different actions and to work together by just effectively communicating between each process. I think
Yeah,
that's what saves the most time, is just at each step of the way, just already having that comment, just something as little as a comment going directly on into the next approver so that everything's clear. You're eliminating all that time to need to go back. You can add attachments as well. So you could even add like a PDF of the email message that was received. So the next
yes,
person, they don't need to kind of contact you back. All of the information is already there for them to
very
make those
good.
the real-time decisions.
Good tip. So, okay. Well, I don't think we've any further questions that have come in currently, Chelsea. So,
Perfect.
look, my apologies for the hiccup at the start. It seems to have had a false start and then we had to restart again. So, look, my apologies in
No
that
problem.
score. But look, for anyone else, if they want to forward any questions, we'll of course leave the screens open for a little while. Feel free to send them through to us. Again, our contact details are on screen here. You'll have a copy of the actual recording when we're finished. Please, by all means, if you have any small inquiry on what Yooz can actually do for your business, please contact us on the details below, and we'll organize a direct session to go through everything with you. Unless there's anything else you want to add, Chelsea, is there anything maybe we're missing?
No, I just wanted to, on behalf of myself and the entire Yooz team, we're so excited to be working together. We know you're very passionate about helping companies on their journey to digitalizing and automating their processes. So thank you again for having us today, and we look forward to our upcoming webinars, sessions, and different master classes. So thanks again.
Great stuff. All right. Thanks very much, Chelsea. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you, everybody,
Bye.
for attending.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye-bye.